I am extremely sympathetic to the plight of an undersized big because, well, I am one. So, what is an undersized big? Players who are not 7-footers or actual big players in height, but they are expected to play in the big positions, aka like the center or power forward position. How does someone who's not that high end up playing in that position? Most of the time is because when you were younger, you were the biggest kid, either on your team or in your area. You did dominate as a big and you purely developed just the big man low post skills. But then as you got to a higher level, the real big people started to show up. So now you also were unable to dominate because you were now one of the smaller players, but you hadn't developed the skills of a guard because you were never taught that. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're lost in this game. And what can you do? However, I do see some sort of undersized bigs, in quotes, playing at a high level. And I'm always curious how do they get there? So I'm making this video to kind of showcase the qualities that an undersized big has. And if you're wondering about me personally, I'm 6'4". I made my first 3 in a game when I was 18 years old. But then it's funny because by the time I was 22, I was considered a stretch 4 because I was able to make 3s. When I was 21, I was playing semi-pro in France, in Lyon, actually the same city that Victor Wembanyama played in, and I was a 3-and-D guy. So just within 3 years, I was able to increase my 3-point percentage so much. But imagine if I was able to do that when I was younger, and if I was taught at a younger age some of the guard skills that I needed, I'd probably be playing at a high level. But that's not the point. The point is I'm going to use my experience and my knowledge and studying to try and share the qualities that I think undersized bigs could do with now. So if you're one of those players, listen up. But before we get into that, my name is Tolu and welcome to the gang. Over this side of YouTube, I try and share as much realistic and practical advice to help you become a well-rounded athlete that performs at a high level in-game and beyond, aka an elite smart athlete. Before we get into the qualities, I think there are 2 archetypes of players. When I'm talking about archetypes, I'm talking about your physical build. So you either have the athletic build where, you might be somewhat wiry or you might be somewhat muscular, but you're an athlete. You can jump high, you can run, you just have a lot of physical athletic qualities. Or you're a big boy, and you're heavy set and you've got size to you, you've got presence. You use your size to get around and dominate. You might not necessarily be the most athletic, but I think those are the 2 kind of physical archetypes that we have for an undersized big specifically, because usually those are the things that help you to dominate in the low post positions. But you're not gonna get a tall, wiry undersized big, otherwise you just end up being a big and you have a height advantage. If you want to switch between archetypes, and usually I tend to get like the big boys wanting to become more of an athlete, that's just a case of working on your physique. And if you need an online coach for that, then head over to www.elitesmartathletes.com and head to the online coaching session, book a call with me, and we can figure out a plan for you. However, the qualities that these undersized bigs have can apply to both groups, to be honest, and it doesn't really matter. First thing that I see undersized bigs do is they run the floor. Reason being, you don't have to worry about your size advantage being a problem if you're making open baskets. And typically, if you have been taught to run the lane, especially as a big, you grab your rebound and you run straight down the middle of the floor. If you can get an open lay, you get an open lay. And it's just easy ways to get very simple buckets. And it also shows that you have a high motor if you can continue to keep running. And that's a quality that coaches love. Now, one question that I get asked all the time, usually from younger players who are playing in the big positions, is how do I score if my teammates don't pass me the ball? I think running the floor is a big part of that, because if you run and they don't pass to you, it's on your coach to get onto them. But also if you run and you're open, they should be passing to you, and you'll get a lot more easy layups if you do that. Just don't smoke them. But also, when you get a rebound yourself, don't be afraid to take it coast to coast. Like, that's the thing. I have a rebound and run drill that I do with my players just because I think you just need to get comfortable with dribbling the full length of the court as quickly as possible, especially off a rebound. Because 1, you've got a rebound, 2, you get an opportunity to score. That's all valuable things for a team. But it doesn't mean be selfish. You're rebounding and you're dribbling to make the best play. Just like in a 3-man weave, if you're dribbling, dribble down the middle of the floor. If you have a pass ahead, pass ahead. If you don't have it, go and score. You're basically working on guard skills, being able to do that, but you're grabbing the rebound as well. This is the kind of thing that I think you have license to do as a big man, especially if you're dominating on the boards. So dominate, focus on getting the rebound first, and then you have a chance to actually control the play. You don't have to instinctively pass all the time. You can look to dribble and create for other players or create for yourself. These are the opportunities that you'll get in moments in the game. You've just got to take advantage of them. If you can showcase this in practices, you'll start to build up that trust of your teammates to then go and do it in the games. But playing that transition game is key for undersized bigs because that half-court game becomes so much more difficult if you do not have a size advantage. If you want to see how I train myself and other athletes, then head over to TikTok and Instagram. Follow me there at Elite Smart Athletes, as I'm always posting my workouts there, and the link will be in the description, probably up here too somewhere. The next thing, which I kind of mentioned previously, is that most undersized bigs are actually extremely aggressive rebounders. And that's because it's the one where you can really get the ball and do something. So like I mentioned before with the rebound and run drill, if you can get a rebound and go coast to coast, it's a way for you to actually be involved in the play. But you have to be aggressive on the boards, because if you do not have a height advantage, what are you gonna do? So you have to be solid at boxing out, solid at anticipating where the ball's gonna go. You see a player like Dennis Rodman, he wasn't the tallest player on the court, especially in the 90s. You know, there were big boys out there, but he really got after the rebounds because he just locked in and did it. Now, was he an undersized big? Not really. He was kind of like just a wing, like slash defensive specialist, but I think that that's the kind of archetype that an undersized big could follow. If you can get rebounds, it gives you an opportunity to create your own shot or score for yourself, or set up a play. So being an aggressive rebounder is very, very essential. And rebounding half the time is not about height or size. It's really just about hustle. We saw that play with the Dallas Mavericks and the New York Knicks, where, you know, basically Dallas got like 5 offensive rebounds before then hitting a 3. Granted, Dante DiVincenzo was running around the floor to try and catch that rebound, but really and truly just the Dallas players, yes, they got a bit lucky with the bounce of the ball, but they were also going after it just a bit more too. If you can be aggressive and you can anticipate a little bit, it will keep you on the floor, because rebounds are key, both defensive and offensive. Check out some discount codes for other things, such as a joint supplement by Avea Life, the mobilizer. It's one that I personally have been using for a while now to heal my knees. If you are new to this page, go check out some of my older videos about knee pain and everything, and you'll be able to see my journey with my bad knees and how they've gotten better. And this supplement has been very key to that process. So yeah, you can get 15% off using the code Elite Smart. Now, the next thing I'll notice is that you'll see that a lot of undersized bigs are high IQ playmakers. And I'm gonna have to go to the guy, Draymond Green. I know he's had his issues of late this season, but you cannot deny his ability to playmake, especially in the Warriors' prime. He sacrificed his scoring to essentially become a point guard on the team. And I know we see players like Jokic and that who are like, but Jokic is a big boy, whereas Draymond is not super, super big or super, super tall. He's athletic, but he doesn't have like the complete athlete build either. But he is a prime example of someone who kind of has all of the traits of an undersized big. And mind you, the Warriors had bigs on their team who really rebounded too, like David Lee and Andrew Bogut. He kind of did a lot of the high IQ playmaking. He was their playmaker and made things happen for them. And I think that that's another big skill that you can work on as an undersized big, because that will keep you on the court. If you can facilitate for other people, if you're a great passer and you can spot a pass, or you know how to make great plays, that will always be a valuable asset for teams. So despite size isn't going to affect that. Point guards are the smallest guys on the team, right? Another reason why this can be beneficial is because if you are an undersized big who is being guarded by an actual big, but you can make plays from the perimeter, you draw them out. They don't come out to guard you, you have an open shot, or you have an open chance to make a play. If they do come out to guard you, well then, you don't have the height advantage, but because they're on the perimeter, you should have the acceleration, first step, speed advantage. And if you can get a step on those defenders, yes, they're tall enough to recover, but just attacking and being aggressive keeps them out of position. They're now at your mercy, and then you can make a play. Check out the link in the description for a free vertical jump workout at www.elitesmartathletes.com. Speaking of getting a bucket for yourself, as an undersized big, you need to be able to spot up shoot, because if you do get those chances to take a shot, you have to be able to make it. Like I mentioned earlier, if you are an undersized big on your team, that means the other team's big has to guard you. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think that you shouldn't be trying to use backing them down in the low post as your advantage. Instead, you should be using attacking from the perimeter as your advantage. It's a mismatch, just in the opposite way. And you'll see guards do it when they get switched onto a big. So I don't see why undersized bigs can't do it. You're slightly bigger, so you should still be able to get your shot off if a guard can do it. If you're able to make shots, they have to respect it. They can't just leave you open all the time. So a lot of undersized bigs that I see will be great spot up shooters. Just catch and shoot, they're open, and they'll take it. As I mentioned before as well, once the defense starts to respect your shot, again, that big defender, you draw him out. Now you're creating opportunities for your other teammates. You free up the lane, you get a chance to maybe get a quick first step on that big and then make a play, whether that's a basket or a kick out or whatever the case may be. You're able to use that speed advantage because now you've got a bigger guy on you. Unless that bigger guy moves as well as Wembanyama, because That kid is unbelievable. Sham guarding in the lane, doing backdoor cuts, like it's crazy. But for now, whilst there's only one Wembanyama, you need to be taking advantage of that. And also, as I mentioned, the high motor, a lot of undersized bigs have to be the defensive specialists on their team because you have to be able to use that motor both offensively and defensively. There's no point in you just running the floor and scoring and then you're getting scored on every single time down the floor, particularly because you're probably going to have to guard someone bigger than you. So you're going to need to utilize your strength somewhat to be able to make things uncomfortable for a taller player. So you have to learn the defensive tricks of the trade to be able to, make taller players uncomfortable or make bigger players uncomfortable, make them not the focal point of the attack. Because if you see a taller player on a shorter player, you know what word gets called out? Mismatch. That's a mismatch. You don't want to be that guy that's getting scored on mismatches all the time. You've got to be able to be somewhat of a defensive specialist. You have to learn that, whether it's that post defense, whether it's that perimeter defense, on the new generation of bigs, you have to be able to play defense. Otherwise, there's no space for you on the court because you're just a liability, and the liability is really down to the fact that you're smaller than the bigger player. So those are the qualities that I think that a lot of undersized bigs share, and I think that if you are an undersized big at the moment, you need to work on these things to be able to keep your place on the floor. But what you can do is check out the video that's about to come up on screen, which is an in-season skills workout template that I kind of created specifically for undersized bigs, to be honest. In terms of the drill examples that I use, it is something that a lot of players can still apply in terms of the principles, but the drills in there are very good for undersized bigs. So I would check that one out. But as always, until next time, stay blessed.